Lux mid, probably not the option, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough call here for Rogue. I think Azir is a no-brainer, just a bit annoying into things like the Akali and the Amumu diving on top of you, but really good scaling, really good range. If that's going to be... Odoamne is a very high-prior Maokai player. He loves Maokai, he loves Rumble. If this is a Graves, that wouldn't surprise me if they flex it. Vedius was talking on the desk about the power of the flexibility of this champ. I do think it's more of a jungle pick for Malrang because of the amount it can set up, but Trundle's locked in, so that's going to be a Maokai top. Wants to have that 80 damage in jungle to mismatch his mid laner.
Now I'm just so interested to see what the answer is actually going to be here, you know, for Kingen. Is it going to be actually Juhan playing the Sejuani, or is it going to be a Sejuani top as the answer? Because you can go to some of the really aggressive counters, some of the melee matchups that can be very, very difficult. But it is looking like if Lee Sin gets locked in here, it would just be Sejuani top against the Maokai, much more of a farm lane. It would feel like DRX are playing more heavily down towards mid and bot. So very interesting. I was kind of expecting more of them trying to look for a counter to that Maokai and actually just slam that Sejuani into jungle. But going Lee Sin here, focus on playmaking. It is going to be a lot of threat on this mid-range Lucian here between the Amumu, the Akali, the Lee Sin. All of these abilities he's going to have to be watching out for, because if he gets locked down, the MF ulti will be there to clean him up.
Yeah, I suppose the logic is just the Trundle's so good into Sejuani jungle, right? You're forced to go things like the spellbook on Sejuani jungle that we've seen. Can't remember who it was, but it just avoids the aftershock proc to give the Trundle the stats, right? So the value is there, but they value more having Lee Sin, Akali, a lot more kill threat, a lot more level 6 spike onto this Azir to try and force mid push to help out their side lanes, most notably bot. But if you look at both comps, tanks in the top lane probably going to be very quiet this game. This game's going to be heavily about keeping mid push for Rogue and making sure their bot lane can dash forwards.
This is going to be a fun game. I think bot lane's going to be spicy. I think there's a lot of pressure back and forth. If you do misstep, honestly, Amumu can lock you down long enough that MF gets the kill or the jungler shows up. On the other side, Trundle either has natural escapes. Those ganks feel pretty decent as well, depending on how pressure goes. If they're low, maybe you dive. As you mentioned, bot lane, mid lane, probably going to be the place where a lot is going on. This is going to be so much fun to watch. Does Rogue continue on the domination they had in the LEC? Does DRX continue the domination they've had at Worlds so far? Not only beating RNG, but 5-0ing their group, and now to see if they continue on the era of Korean domination. Only one team ever from the LCK since 2014 has ever failed in the group stage. DRX, maybe with some tough competition, but they have looked so far pretty amazing here at the World Championship. And our first game today is going to start right about now. Rogue versus DRX. We are on to Summoner's Rift.
Oh baby, let's get into it. And just small talking point before we begin with level 1's Airy on the Nami. Not a surprise, the electric changes will help out in that lane phase a little bit more.
We get some DRX chants from the crowd.
And there's actually a lot of fans cheering. Okay, now we got the TSM.
There you go.
You can't escape a day of Worlds without the TSM chant.
Run from it. But TSM chants always arrive.
They always arrive indeed. So looking at this early game, interesting ward from DRX. They've actually decided to ward over the Dragon Pit, to spot Malrang. So this will early spot a late invade if they decide to go for it. No one from Rogue knows that that ward is there, and Trundle being in that vicinity makes DRX think that if he's going to start on the bot side, they will know. But it looks like he's going to run up towards his blue buff. I think that ward there is just avoiding any kind of level 2 gank. Red to bot, they'll see him a lot earlier than if it was in Tribush.
I mean, I think that's the thing, right? It's like these guys do not have natural escapes. Amumu burning his flash level 1, that's going to suck a whole lot. And I mean, honestly, land a bubble after pillar, that's going to be a force flash. They'll kill the ward, but at least information is known that Toronto's starting topside. And there's no info you're going to get other than that in the first place. You'll see him go blue, then run towards Gromp, and, you know, inventory is off at that point anyway, but at least into the pathing start.
And actually very, very interesting. So DRX, with that ward over the wall there at Dragon Pit, tracked where Malrang went with his pink ward and saw that he spent his pink ward. So they noticed it must have been in bot lane Tribrush. So level 1, they go straight in the bot lane Tribrush, they kill off the pink ward. So no value gained there from Malrang. Despite going for that early ward to try to cover his bot laners. They know Lee Sin likely is going to be clearing down towards bot side, you know, meeting up with that Amumu, and now they don't have that additional coverage.
Early trade looks pretty good, though. Airy, pretty helpful when those trades go a bit dicier, though. And ultimately, the shield helps him a little bit. Trimmy gets the second hit there as he attacks back toward Deft. And honestly, heavy scrapping is generally going to favor Nami, so the healing's going to feel pretty good. So unless the pressure keeps going, eventually the health difference just goes to the blue side.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The sustain is going to help Rogue out. They need to be careful not to get all in too much. Dude. Yeah, Deft not in range to follow that one up. The wave's slowly coming into DRX. I wonder if Rogue... No, they actually... Not level 2 yet on comp. He lost... Yeah, he must have lost some experience there, so they're going to have to give up the push in this lane for now.
Yeah, and you can see Lee Sin already level 3. He is just on the blue. But Malrang moving down towards bot, knowing he may have to potentially cover here as the wave is pretty neutral.
Yeah, just looking at all three lanes here, a lot of trading in all three. Odo has the top push, Larssen has the push into Zeka. We saw this matchup from Scout versus Faker yesterday in the EDG T1 game. And despite T1 dominating that game, the level 1 to 6 was really rough for Faker in this Akali matchup. He had to TP back pretty early on, even got chunked out after TPing back, so the Azir should be able to control the wave. Comp now level 2 can start to walk up and contest. Yuhan is on the way down, wants to get this bot crab up in 3 seconds. Malrang actually skipped his Raptors, so he won't be in time to contest this crab. Also won't ding over to level 4 either, so they're going to meet each other in Tribush. Lee Sin loses very hard in the 1v1, so he's not going to take the phase check, and Malrang might level up from the ward. No, he's extremely close.
Gets the ward kill all the same, though, so vision not great on that side. It means the chance at a gank is going to happen. W, a little bit of vision, a little bit of damage, chilling down there. 15 to 22 in CS, though, and in top side. Needs his passive back up. I don't know when it's coming back. Kingen does not go for more. If Odo had the passive in grasp, he probably heals through it.
Yeah, Kingen must not have had his Q back up there. You know, if the Q is off cooldown there, you're definitely going to go in for it. But you do have to be careful in these matchups. Early on, Sejuani does have some pretty good power. The Ignite coming up there is going to be dangerous.
Blood damage across first, the flash, the foe! And first blood for Comp. Welcome to the World Championship.
2v2 already going in Rogue's favor. Great bubble there. Deft actually falls and Comp gets the kill. Larssen having the mid pressure. There might be a cross map here from DRX to look for a dive on this top lane. Look for Odo Amne if they can look for that kill. It's going to ward the Tribush. Has TP, has a cookie as well. Do they go for it? Kingen has the Ignite. He might have to be the one to start this pipe up.
Gonna get the heal. Here comes the dive. Gets in the shield, and now Odo. Can he survive it? Flashes up, jumps to a minion, drops the aggro, running back. They have to drop the aggro. Kingen, 120 health left on a ham, but Juhan, full energy, full health bar. Odo, E flashes, jumps back to a minion though, still forced the flash.
Good
Very well played by Odo, hanging on in that 1v2. And DRX will have to back it up. Rogue looking really solid so far, you know, in these early minutes. All the way there, still there for Odo to actually farm up.
Yeah, and Larssen and Zeka still trading. Larssen hasn't TP back just yet, neither has Zeka, but the CS is really in his favor. Dive a little bit scuffed on that top side. Odo will be able to catch this wave.
Tribby shadowing in case there is a play. Obviously, it looks like Zeka would like the lane to reset. Larssen has enough mana to be dangerous, but Zeka's health bar is low, doesn't want a bad recall as the wave sits in the middle of the lane. But no gank to be had. Lisa not doing anything here, so Trimby gives him a little bit of damage. It goes, never mind, nothing else happening. Zeka goes to the trade, a little bit of damage. One auto back in. Larssen once again out of mana. Again, heavily trades.
Yeah, I mean, Larssen really wants to get out of this lane. Now that he's out of mana, they want to be able to actually reset this, but you can see Malrank walking through mid. Didn't actually help him fully push it out because I think he's, again, nervous about potential plays down towards bot. This will mean a pretty easy reset for Zeka, though. You know, in this Akali versus Azir matchup, it's often not about health versus health. It's actually just like health on the Akali side versus mana on the Azir side. And if you can actually get him out of mana in these situations, then there's not really that much more threat, and the lane really starts to stabilize for Akali.
Yeah, Malrank's been a little bit quiet so far. We saw Yuan going for those early top dives. Hasn't really been able to contest too much in the river. He's been shadowing his bot lane majority of the time. Of course, path down here on the second respawn, covering Rogue on this bot push out, making sure the waves can crash safely and there's no threat of an all-in. The Amumu still has flash, right? So there's always that threat, that looming threat of an all-in where Lee Sin can gap close. But we talked about the level 6 power spike. Zeka's base, he's going to TP back with the alternator, Amp Tome as well. And on that level 6, he will have kill pressure onto Larssen. Yuhan just needs that level 6 as well so they can start contesting this mid 2v2 and impacting both side lanes.
Both sides hits a stun, but it's still going to hit Nami though. Trimby could be in danger, but the bubble down does not land on the 80 carry. Second bandage shots, I believe, missed, so Barrel's nothing, but the Q's going to land Juhan on the board now. Comp forced to run back to his tower, taking a shot from Death.
There's the power of the Amumu on the setup. The Lee Sin can just come through lane because he has two forms of gap close the Amumu, and no flash on the Nami after the initial one means the second one will land and Lee Sin can follow up.
And with Glacial Augment, it's actually so difficult to actually even disengage from that as the Nami. You know, even if you're able to get hit by that first one, try to flash out of there. You know, getting slowed down is going to make it very, very difficult to disengage. It's a nice lane gank there from Juhan. And without flash on Trimby now and no flash on Comp, it's going to make it very difficult for this Rogue bot lane to continue pushing forward. Beautiful timing there, though, from Odo Amne, immuning the E on that travel time from the Sejuani with the Twisted Advance.
Yeah, definitely really good to stop the damage coming through. Of course, the mana bar is really in Odo's favor. A little bit down in XP, but should level up. We see this again here. Beryl just doesn't even aim for Comp, just goes straight onto Trimby. Despite Trimby having the flash, like you said, Azael, the Glacial Augment just makes him so slow. And despite not having the second charge, Yuhan can gap close onto it. Fight on the screen there on the bottom right. Looks like Odoamne's found Juhan looking for that top crab. No flash from earlier.
Ulti land Q back, the pillar there. Juhan does not have flash. That was beautiful. Ward hops back away. There's the bottom side barrel, nearly dies. And now we got a bit more going on. Juhan collapsed on by Larson. Went back down the Riverton of his own jungle and gets killed for it. Double not gonna land here, so it's ready with Trimby, who feels safe.
Comp has the level 6. There's the MF ult. Won't get the kill, but Comp's very close to having mana for culling. I think DRX know that, and they're going to back away after the wave crash. I think Deft was just aiming at the wave there.
Exactly. That was just a wave clear ultimate there from Deft. He does chunk out Rogue a little bit. This is dangerous, though. They are going to stay around. They will spot this ward, be able to clear it out, but the wave is now neutral. They do have the mana advantage pretty heavily, though. So we'll see if they want to try to push in one more wave. It looks like they will, and I don't think Comp can stay around. He's just too low and has no mana at all.
King is going to start up the Herald, and Malrang's channeling the recall, so it looks like they're just going to give this. Despite killing the enemy jungler with Herald up, they're just going to hand off the blue buff and take a base. So just setting the stakes for the game right now. A lot of trading in bot. Top side goes in Rogue's favor, but they end up losing the Herald. Juhan just greeting a little bit for this crab. We saw him use the flash on bot side, and Malrang going forwards to make sure that he can follow up on this play. Juhan, nice dash over the wall, but Larson has the mid push to collapse.
Yeah, exactly. There's just no real way out for him. Nicely played here, trying to escape as long as possible. At the end of the day, it would have been better to actually just go back and give it to Odo or Malrang instead of to that Azir, because that could cause some problems in mid lane. Larson already scaling up very, very nicely, has the lost chapter here early on with that kill gold, so he's going to be feeling good.
So where's the focus for both these teams now? Rogue, you have to imagine looking for some kind of bot plays. Odoamne no TP is going to struggle in this top side, but Dragon's up, and they are winning out in this bot 2v2 in terms of all-in potential. Lucian with the culling. MF ult is down, that's why Malrang's in the bot side river. What does DRX want to do is the question.
This is actually so interesting, though, for Deft, the build. It almost looks like he's doing like a Bloodthirster rush or something. Like, he has
So,
BF. Is he going towards multiple items at the same time here? Maybe he just wanted to vamp for sustain? Like, because this is so atypical.
Here's the weird deep cut I'm going for. Essence Reaver.
Essence Reaver plus vamp for a shield bow later or something?
I'm not even sure Essence Reaver has a BF in it anymore. Actually, I'm trying to think about it. But I don't know. I mean, I know Bloodthirst was actually a relatively common.
It doesn't.
Yeah, so Bloodthirst is a relatively common misfortune item.
But not as a first item. You like,
no,
legit never see that. It's almost always Mythic Rush.
If he's stacking raw AD, he's like, I'm just getting as much ult damage as possible. I'm just going to build AD items and then go Mythic. It's sort of like those early Schrader Dirk builds where you're like rushing up for the power spike. That's the only line I can see where he's doing this.
And this used to be something that, this is many seasons ago. MF1 Tricks would actually do this multiple BF item build. They'd do like triple BF buy early and then build them into, IE, BT, etc. back in the day. But not something I've seen in a really long time.
Yeah, I think the logic is the enemy bot lane has sustain and no ignite, so innate healing is always better to just rush something like the Bloodthirster to make the lane phase a bit easier for him, I presume. I wonder if he will finish it. Looks like the components he will, but regardless, DRX will get the Dragon.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting, right? Because he has the extra longsword and he doesn't have a quick flow. So, it's like, is he even going in towards it, or is he just building that and then going to something else? But either way, doing pretty well on the DRX side. They get the Dragon, they get the Herald. We'll see where they want to actually look with this next Herald. It always feels like when you're playing against Azir, trying to open up through mid lane with that Herald is a pretty good idea. Get Zeka moving around on the map, try to take Larson out of his comfort zone, because the longer he's just chilling, farming 10 CS per minute in mid lane, the better things are for Rogue.
And we've seen what Zeka can do in planes already. Outstanding performance, huge step up for DRX. Now playing with Juhan over Pyosik. Juhan did play 2 games of Maokai. We're now seeing his Lee Sin, still a little bit ahead of Malrang. Has the XP advantage, has the farm advantage. Here comes that mid contest you were talking about. They do want to drop it around here. Rogue will push out bot lane, and they should know something's up here because MF and Amumu aren't showing on this bot side. Larson playing relatively safe. Juhan's just going to help Zeka clear out the wave, and this is the mid lane contest that both teams want to do. Rogue want to keep the push, DRX want to threaten kill pressure, so it's just even.
And right now, Larson's going to sit there and tank the wave. No big problems for him. Going to try to keep the lane on his side, make it uncontestable to kill him as wave goes into the tower. Worth noting that the one turret plate was not gained for gold. It died diminished with no one around, so that 160 does not go into anyone's pockets. Comp comes through on a Gale Force, so 2 Mythics now in the inventory as the Gale Force finally comes through for DRX's jungle.
And the Gale Force is where we see the Lucian really come online because the all-in is just that much stronger. DRX do have summoners in bot lane, so they shouldn't be under too much threat. Odoamne's been under his tower the majority of the game, unleashed TP in 2 minutes, but we need to see what this Herald's going to drop because it's about to expire.
It's going to be mid. Juhan just went straight down towards bot side river, moving in towards mid here again. His camps are up top side, but he's just going to straight drop the Herald. They're pulling down Kingen as well. They want to try to threaten here, and if Larson doesn't spot this Sejuani on the wraparound, things could get a little bit dangerous. There's already 4 members here.
Flashes us, so that might not have landed, but now it's going to be the jungler stuck in place. Marlon gets his stopwatch in time, immune. The Amumu's done. And King without flash simply could not live. The shuffle guarantees it. They hand the kill over. Larson 2-0.
I really like what Malrang did there. He just instantly stopwatched, didn't use the ult, didn't use anything else. He just made sure that he was avoiding more CC, so they had to back off the dive. And King, obviously with no flash, just gets collapsed on very easily there by Rogue. So they got the plates, which is what they wanted, but maybe overforcing a little bit there, DRX, with that top prio.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just don't think keeping track of the fact that he actually had a stopwatch. I don't think you actually look for that sort of a dive there. If you know that Malrang has a stopwatch available, trying to hard force onto it. You know, Kingan's there on the wraparound, but of course Odo is going to be coming in with the follow. You can see on the minimap, you know, Odoamne was already moving down from that top side, was going to be there very, very quickly. And with the stopwatch in place, there's no way you can continue the dive. Odoamne arrives behind Kingan, this flashless Sejuani, and he's just slated to go down. They can give another easy one over to Larson, who's been the beneficiary of a lot of these early scraps. He's got 2 kills already.
Yeah, 2-0-0 on the board, has the mythic picked up that we saw a little bit earlier on. He's gonna look to solo out this blue buff as Malrang clears out his bot camp. Shouldn't have a very hard time doing that, but with 1 minute on the Herald, that's the next objective that both these teams will be looking for. Taking Herald as DRX is so pivotal because you crack open mid-tier 1 to stop the Azir from being able to wave clear so effectively. So Rogue will try to deny that, you have to imagine. When the mythic gets picked up, there's a Sunfire for Odo, so I think they're pretty happy to take the next fight. Question is, who can set up first? Who will arrive to the objective first? Because face checking into both these comps is pretty scary.
Now, Bloodthirster is, of course, done here, as we called out. That is actually what Deft is going for, just the full sustain. It is a pretty good attack damage stat stick. And if you think you're only team fighting with ulti, the only stat you care about is raw AD. Attack doesn't do anything. The crit chance is the same as like a Kraken Slayer or whatever. So, okay, he's going for the biggest ultis possible. The ability to not get one shot, hopefully, by, you know, Lucian fighting him in the lane. So we'll see what pays out for him. Of course, cooldown boots are, of course, in for the Lucian and now in the top river, fighting for vision.
Bit of an awkward scenario here. So Kingan used the TP a couple seconds ago, and Odo is in bot lane with the TP. So now it's a weird situation. Does Deft go top here and contest the Herald, or does he just drop, or does he stay bot and then they have to play a 5v4 on this Herald, right? Does he really want to give up this much creeps just to arrive in a fight that Odoamne can TP in anyway? So I think the DRX are saying, let's give this up. There's no real way we can contest this. Deft's not here, unless they can look for a steal. Our Rogue don't have that much lockdown. The Nami bubble, the ult, it's all skill shot based, so he can play a little bit on limits here, threaten Rogue as Deft is on the way. The more time they can buy here, the better.
When does Odo TP to make it a 5v4? Here comes the first engage. Sun's gonna land, but will it even kill? No one is in range! And finally, Zeka comes in, knocks down Trimby. A trade of support for support. That costs an ultimate.
Deft is almost here.
Good smite comes through from Malrang. Ulti's not gonna do a whole lot there. Zeka back out to safety. Bullet time on to 4. Juhan builds his face, stays alive.
Battle lines drawn, both teams gonna back away, support's full, but Rogue get the objective, DRX get Odoamne's TP, so now they're gonna look for this mid tower because Rogue have to take the long way, but with only the ranged champion being the MF, Deft doesn't really want to walk up and hit that tower. Dragon up in 10 seconds.
And Comp actually has Herald. I wonder if he'll just even drop it top, and he's up top by himself. He's just gonna use it for the fast recall. Potentially save it for later, but DRX staying out on the map here, starting up this Dragon here on spawn, looking to take their second Dragon. Larson does not have TP. He cancels his base, so it looks like Rogue are thinking about trying to contest this, but they still need about 15-20 seconds for Comp to get there.
Very similar situation to earlier where they need to stall and wait for Comp, try to buy time, but look at Deft's mana, it's incredibly low, no ultimate either, so he's just basically saying, I can't fight this, guys. There's no way we can take it. You're gonna have to take the 5v4 if you want to contest, and DRX just pull away and look for this top tower. Comp is on the way up, Trimby's mid. This could be a little bit risky for Comp, but I don't know if DRX have the information as to where the Nami is, so it would be a bit of a risky dive. Is it worth going for? Wave extremely small, Barrel's just gonna blast going out, Rogue get the Dragon.
Honestly, really well handled by Rogue. You know, even just Larson, you know, showing, canceling his base, coming back out, you know, the threat of him being there meant that Juhan wasn't able to actually finish this off.
Yeah, if Deft was here a little bit earlier with the bullet time, they could have done a lot of work on top of that Amumu ult, but they're using their cooldowns that pair so well with the MF. But by the time Deft arrives, the ult is good, it's onto 4 people, like I said there, Freak, but there's no real CC to lock them in it. They can just kind of step out of it from the sides. Comp dashing away, nice kick with a double knockup there from Juhan, but not enough sustained damage to continue the fight.
The rest of that fight looked interesting because it felt like this would have been DRX with control of the map, but went for the waves and went for the recall, and it was indeed Rogue who got the second Drake of the game, so no one's in pressure for losing a Dragon Soul. As we are towards the best Rift, objectively. I will not be taking any questions. It is Hextech Rift, it's the best one. His words go down, hand it over to Larson. Oh, come on, dude, he was next to you. Steals 30 gold from Larson's pockets.
Stonk's
lights
going down
it on
there.
fire.
Yeah, Stonk's going down. Malrang's trying to contest his wards, get a little bit of vision. That Herald still on comp, like you said there, Azael. Where is he going to put it? It looks like he's moved from top to mid now. They've swapped the carries here, Rogue. They're putting Larson top. He's got a tower behind him. They're putting comp in mid to contest his mid push. But Larson is very vulnerable on the side. And if Johan can gap close up here and try to get a sneaky angle onto Larson with a kick, he will fall. That's why Trimby's hovering. That's why Malrang is unsure whether he should go towards mid. The support jungle of Rogue trying to cover.
Yeah, and you can see that Kingan is not confident to even walk up. You know, they haven't had eyes on a lot of these Rogue members for quite some time. So even though it is just this 1v1 between tanks, Kingan has no idea. They really have very, very little forward vision. You're looking at the map. Their forward line of vision is literally that. They don't have anything else. They have no deep wards whatsoever. So just now that Malrang shows, he knows he is safe to actually step forward and start contesting the wave as DRX are moving in towards that top side, trying to maintain vision in this area. And I think use this to try to make what Larson is doing on the top side feel dangerous. If you can control vision through that top side river and then encroach into that blue side jungle there, deny some of the vision there, it becomes a lot less safe for Larson to be pushing out top. And that's why Rogue is contesting so heavily for it.
Yeah, looking for that top side crab now. Malrang comp staying in mid will help them keep the mid push to help Larson on this top side. That's where both these teams are focusing because Larson is so vulnerable. If the mid jungle can collapse with Barrel next to them and they can actually make the aggressive play first, Rogue's always going to be on the back foot. But Zeka right now, level 13, exact same as Larson, with the Proto Belt complete, with the needlessly large rod, will do a lot of damage. Rogue need to be very careful in how they use their CC because they only really have one lockdown and it's the Maokai. And if Odo uses it on someone else, then the Akali can take over a fight.
Herald summon mid lane, going to be a target. Nice ulti, good pillar though. Trundle is very good at misfortune as well because he has very quick access to knock her out of that one turret. Remains at about 40% health. DRX not really in danger here in mid, as that push does almost nothing.
The Lucian really hasn't gotten that much done in the early stages here, but I do think Rogue have shown some real foresight in enabling Larson and always keeping him safe. It's going to be a TP here onto Zeka. We'll see if they can actually get him. He can just R to safety, I think.
Got a flash, gets knocked out first. Doesn't have a good target just yet. Dealt around. Ulti is for Amumu. Is its first kill going to come across? Larson attacked and down. Killed off. Both junglers with one kill on the board. A safety hop for the Lee Sin, but now Barrel doesn't have an easy way out. Jumps down to one, but he is surrounded and he will die. Koff, his third kill of the game.
It looked good there for DRX because Zeka can live, but Larson pushes him out of the shroud so Malrang can finish him. Good follow-up by Johan to take down the opposing mid laner as well. It makes it a 1-for-1, but Comp can collapse first. I feel like Deft has never really gotten involved in these fights, and by the time he shows up, he's always a bit too late.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it's a product of taking the longer path. You know, Rogue had vision in that topside river. You're going to be a lot safer moving up there as Comp. You know, even with the strat from MF, which traditionally you are going to have an advantage on these moves, he's having to take the longer path, and as a result, he's not really getting there in time, but they do trade back.
See the TP comes in here. We were a bit skeptical as to whether they could pull this off. I think if the Azirul doesn't hit, DRX run away with this fight, but because the pushback lands onto Zeka's R1, that means they get vision to actually do damage to him and dish out a little bit. Larson gets hit by a lot of the CC though. Yeah, and I thought Odo actually played it really, really smart. He didn't walk out of the brush until Zeka was in range so he could twisted advance, because if you step out of the brush, then you just R1 on Maokai and you're basically gone, right? Even if he follows you with a twisted advance, you create too much space. So really smart team fight there from Rogue, and with Comp arriving, Barrel was always slated to fall. 30 seconds on this Dragon, though. Rogue all set up on this bot side. Top tower is extremely low, so we're looking at a cross map here. DRX will get this top tower. It's going to fall, and they can also TP in to contest this Dragon. So Rogue, 20 seconds left, will play on mid and bot waves. They'll get the push. Question is, does DRX want to walk in? Do they have any good wards that Zeka can TP on? I mean, they got no vision in the whole area, right? Like, it does look very, very difficult for them to enter. And it will be a tough one. Zeka is going to take this down, but with him stepping forward and not actually basing here to spend gold, I don't think they're really going to heavily contest, but he is going to base now. They are trying to work their way forward here, clear out some of these wards, but Malrang is already on the Dragon. Zeka would have to TP now. It's so hard to walk in. One Nami ult in either of these chokes, and that's it. The fight's basically over. Maokai ult as well can just cover so much ground. Zeka's TP'd in. Level 14 will get spotted out. Barrel!
There's the ulti on the two. Front line, they'll kill Barrel, but will they get one back? Trimby just stays alive. Front engage comes across again. A kill for the Lee Sin. Deft low, flash to safety. Juhan low, doesn't die either. Gale Force does not find the kill. Odoamne wants to walk forward. The head tech. Dragon slows them. Locked down. Kingan running for his life. Comp wants it. The shot's still coming through, and he gets them. 9-4 in the scoreboard. A rampage now, 4 in a row. And to get the second dragon of the game for Rogue.
Massive fight for Rogue. Yuhan's kick there onto Trimby actually saved him. He kicked him out of the bullet time. A little bit of miscommunication or misplay coming out of DRX on the execution. Barrel's flank initially looked good, but it's a win team fight for Rogue. Malrang's up in 2 seconds and he has the Hex Gate, so he could get to this Baron quite quickly, but they're just going to call it off.
And that force from DRX, to me, felt a little bit like desperation there, trying to get in at a very difficult angle. You can see, again, Barrel on the side here. The initial engage is pretty good, but by the time the bullet time comes in, Juhan arrives and tries to get the execute kick onto Trimby, but he survives on the backside. And then Comp moving forward, the Sejuani ult throws in the backline. It's onto Larson, but the peeling with the Azir ulti there, knocking Zeka out of the R. They all pile forward, and Comp has been largely ignored. He can just crush through the fight.
Yeah, Zeka had his eyes on Larson the majority of that fight, and Comp was dishing and dealt so much damage, just dashing forwards off of cooldown there. Trimby lucky to stay alive. Smiles coming out of Comp, of course. Won the LEC, got a pentakill in game 1. DRX looking a bit confused, a bit frustrated, probably dissecting in comms. How do we win these fights? We got a flank on the Amumu, but we still couldn't lock down any of these carries.
Well, and it just doesn't feel like they've been super coordinated on when they're engaging. When the Amumu ult comes through, you need everything that feels like landing at the same time. The bullet time has to be there. Akali has to be diving in on the back line. You have to have Lee Sin arriving, but it's kind of feeling like it's coming in piecemeal. The Amumu ult arrives, then maybe 1 or 2 things come in, then the rest of the people are arriving. They're not really all on the same page, and they're not really perfectly set up for the fight, largely because Zeka TP'd in pretty late. By the time Barrel engaged, he wasn't really even in range.
Larson completed the Rabadon's death cap now. Doesn't really have many defensive tools. Flash is off of on cooldown as well, so knows only has no real self-peel. The Nami's going to be focused on the Lucian as well, so kind of have to play very self-sufficient in these fights. Trimby stepping up with no flash. Confident enough to clear out this pink, and I think DRX are trying to hold this top push as much as possible.
See, the split push could matter with no defensive tools and Larson to save for the Merc Treads. Maybe Zeka feels comfortable to go for him. Of course, on 2 items on this Akali herself. Mythic passive on the Rocket Belt is Magic Pen plus the Shadow Flame itself could look good. But just pushing the wave in. Has a level lead for now over Larson. So the 1v1, not terribly important. 2, 1, and 6, the Azir ult. Peeling Akali in fights, the part that matters.
Definitely does, can interrupt those dashes. We've seen it aggressively when he just stops the Zeka from escaping, and we've seen it defensively on the Dragon fight. Question is, when Rogue has flash on Larson again, do they want to force Nash? Do they want to bait DRX into them? Because Death's Flash is such a long cooldown and you have so much good zone control in these chokes, like the entrance red with the Nami ult, with the Maokai ult. Does Odoamne want to push out this bot wave, join his team, and then force DRX into them?
Yeah, I mean, it becomes very, very difficult for DRX even entering in these fights, through the Maokai ult, as you're saying, through the saplings, through the Trundle pillar. If the front line is actually hard engaging, you can even just pillar out the back line, pillar out someone like Def, and actually just kill off the front line, as Rogue has often been able to do in these fights. Then, as the frontliners start to fall, the carries can push forward from Rogue, and I just think that they're playing out these team fights so incredibly well. They're maintaining the vision advantage almost throughout the entire game, it feels like. There is one ward that they missed here in Pixel, but overall, Rogue doing a great job through these first 25 minutes.
A lot of pings, Comp stashing forwards.
Jumping in, gets this done though as Barrel flashes into a 3-man ulti, and they're gonna shut down 2. Finally, DRX get the ult combo together.
Comp just disrespecting Barrel there so much, cleanses the Q right into the ulti. Everyone is there. And Comp is going to want that one back. DRX are onto the Baron now. Rogue are positioning here to try to contest. Larson does still have his cooldowns, but Zeka still has ulti, and that's who we have to watch out for.
DRX know they don't have Smite. Juan must have been picking this one. It's like 15 seconds away still, so they cannot flip it. They have to get Malrang out of the pit, get him away. And right now, Vision is spotted. They know where he is. Kingen might just inform, but no, they're going to go for the fight instead.
Oh, you had it!
He gets the kickback, but will it be enough? Larson scoops. Larson stays alive for 1 HP. Def gets the kill, but he had to dive in to make it happen. So now he's surrounded, trying to live. Will Gale finally drops down. Odoamne, though.
Look at Odo go!
Is the Sunfire Aegis enough? He's punching. He's doing what
That's
he
a
can.
scary tree.
Being helped by Trimby. He will burn them down as best he can. The TP comes back in. Zeka is there. Barrel is low. Is his Q up to jump to Krugs? It is. He's got to stay alive. He'll just barely live. He's got no turret, but no one's in the chase anymore.
Spider-Man on Amumu there. Beryl makes the miracle escape. Odoamne as a tank, just 1 versus 3 the rest of DRX, but this all came from a massive blunder from Comp. DRX could have gotten away with a Baron there. Their turn took a very long time to find Larson. Eventually he fell so they could win the fight, but the base damage coming out of this Trundle and Maokai was what kept Rogue alive.
And the fact that they actually had no heal cut for the Sap Magic there, Odo was just drain tanking the whole team. Here it is one more time. It's all about, Zeka on the side, and that's why Odo is trying to mark this as he's looking to come around here. He wants to get in on the back line there. Warthog, kick flash onto Larson, but again, the Azir ulti to peel pushes Zeka back. Def going forward to try to finish him off, but we're back to live, and Malrang is on the Dragon here, trying to move Rogue to Soul Point.
Rogue's third Drake, if it happens there, Juhan spots it, knows what's going on, be careful, they're gonna dive in here for the Maokai, just locked up, pops the shield, will be enough, dives into Comp kills him. Ulti doesn't do a whole ton from depth as everyone else gets back to safety. Comp is down his flash, but will it matter? Zeka gets nothing from the ulti. King now forced out. Honestly, 5v4 just feels like Rogue owned it. And it's 5v3. Larson gets the final kill into Kingen.
This Maokai is a really big problem for DRX. He's doing so much work in the fights to lock down the carries. The Lee Sin and the Akali have so much mobility to gap close onto Comp, and Odoamne knows that. He's keeping his eyes on those two players, the mid jungle of DRX, and stopping them from being able to reach his team.
No one can kill him. MF cannot deal with a Maokai like this, just running at her. And when Def peels back, he's just locking down Zeka, locking down Juhan. They don't have the consistent damage to actually punch through the tree. And now it's Rogue here, bursting down this Baron very, very quickly with the Azir, and it's DRX making the call to just give it up. Rogue now on Soul Point with Baron. 3,000 or so gold ahead here, and they are looking so damn good. The initial engage, great there. The pillar knocking back Juhan so that Odo can get in range. They try to turn it around onto Comp. The kick comes through, but Comp is able to just flash over the wall out of the range of Deft, and then now where's your damage?
Yeah, very decisive from Odo on the initial engage, just calling his team to chase onto the Sejuani, flashes forwards and gets the kill, but you have a very good question there. Where's the damage really from DRX? They can't take down Comp. Maybe if they took down Comp, they can turn, but even if Comp dies, Larson's just such a big threat. They have to use this gap close to get onto one carry and then figure out how to get the other one down, because Comp is very mobile.
And I mean, it's actually so difficult because when they're committing so much to trying to take down Comp and Larson, if you're ignoring Malrang and Odoamne, their damage is not insignificant in these fights. This is a Divine Sunder or Trundle, and Odo is just in the mix, slapping people with the base damages that on Maokai that are actually very high.
Comp has the Infinity Edge complete, doesn't have flash though, but if he dashes forwards with the Gale Force, he will delete anyone that walks up from DRX. Even Beryl in these fights is just getting absolutely melted after getting his ult off with this Baron. It looks like they're playing a 4-1, 4-man mid. Malrang's the one split pushing. That's how much Rogue value the lockdown onto the flanks. Odo will group up, Malrang will split push, Odo will mark Zeka.
I think it's the right call, and I mean, do you see how annoying this is for Zeka? He's constantly trying to move into that side brush, threaten the flank. Odo just has it perma-sapling, because with these high CDR Maokai builds, it's like a 5-6 second cooldown this late into the game for that sapling. You're always going to have the brushes covered. You have map hacks with this champion. He's going to keep you safe on those side angles, and Odo is not afraid of mixing it up with the Akali.
Spirit Visage complete as well, only one healing reduction onto King, and ult's coming out to zone them away. DRX, maybe they can look for a turn here.
Oh, good stun. Oh, Beryl. Bullet of 3 is going to be enough, though. Scoop into the wall, buys some time. But it's still, it is mid laner down. There's only one carry left in this one. Odoamne holds the front line. Zeka dives in, but he can't find the kill. For the stopwatch, he's invisible. Q won't push him out of it, but DRX cannot follow through this huge front line of Rogue.
Well, and again, DRX are not on the same page here. Deft had already committed his ulti, then Beryl goes in, and Malrang had already pillared the ulti from Deft, so he had no ultimate when Beryl went in and found that huge engage. If the bullet time is there, they can actually crush through that fight potentially, but DRX just not seeming to have the communication down in this game.
Yeah, it could have been a miracle fight there for DRX to turn the entire game, but they do get Larson, they do stop the siege, and they do hold on for a little bit longer. The problem is they're down 5k gold. Rogue have a Baron and Dragon spawning. That's the Soul Point for Rogue.
But just watch Deft. He actually lets the ulti rip here very early on. It gets pillared immediately. Then they go in. This is the communication that needs to be there, that Beryl's saying, I'm going to go. You wait for it to go in, then everyone piles in over top. And you look at how low some of these members got. If you have a full channeled ulti on Odoamne, he's dead.
Yeah, and they used all their spells to take down Larson, so you can see it's really hard for them to gap close onto Comp, even with no flash. The peel is just so strong. Odo tossing his ult there across the jungle, looking for a singular pick. 1 minute 40 seconds on this Soul. Rogue want to keep control around mid and bots, keep control on these waves, keep DRX in their base so when this Dragon spawns, they can turn and burn.
100 gold to the Red Bull Baron power play, and Worth noting, Zeka also now down a stopwatch. Larson saved his, still has it. Zeka on the overchase, burned a stopwatch to not die, but didn't get anything for it. So down resources here is DRX.
And Deft is about 1,000 gold away still from that IE, which he desperately needs, but it's very unlikely, unless a fight breaks out, that he's going to have it for the soul fight. And missing that IE at this point in the game really is devastating. He needs that spike because he is their only true consistent damage to threaten the front line of Malrang and Autoomne that are just completely out of control for Rogue.
Rogue still holding his vision line. Anyone dashes forwards, Comp goes on top of them. Uses the culling, doesn't find a kill. There's the Maokai ult to zone them away again, but this could be an angle for DRX. If Kingen can base and look for a TP, they might look for a fight. Two ultimates down on Rogue. Do they stay longer? Do they wait for these ultimates to come back up? 40 seconds on this Dragon. Kingen rejoins his team. Rogue needs to hold this vision line. They need to keep control of DRX.
Only Odo could TP back in. We'll see if he wants to take the recall, but right now they're just going to start just crushing this right side jungle, the path towards this Dragon Soul.
And the cooldowns are just so short at this point in the game. Autoomne on his ulti, they're going to try to look for a brush camp, but it's only a 45-second cooldown here, and there's no vision in the area at all for DRX.
Big items complete those. Zhonya's on Zeka, Infinity Edge on Deft. This is the fight that they've been looking for. 4 items on this Misfortune. Can they find the angle is the question. They see absolutely nothing, and they need information fast because this Dragon will die so quickly. Deft's going through bot with Yuhan. He has his flash, level 16 MF, 4 items. How much can they get done? Azael's been wanting them all game long to have some synergy with the Amumu. This is their chance.
5k health, the ulti's there. No way you can make it happen. Being set up by Rogue. They've got all the zone control they need. DRX go too late, too slowly.
I mean, they have the items, but it just takes so long to clear every brush, and then you're slowed by the Maokai saplings. You can't just blindly face check into a Nami bubble. The game will end at this point if they get that big pick. And this is the punish here that we are seeing on DRX for time and time again, losing out on this vision game. Rogue has been just relentless in denying the vision, cutting down these wards. Kingen now very far out. They're going to TP for this. They want this.
Here. Yeah, Pillar may be down, but I don't know how he has a way out. No flash available. He got the turret, chooses to stay, and Comp finds his 6th kill.
I thought they would let him live a little bit longer there with 50 seconds on the Baron. He's going to match the death timer of the Baron spawn, so he should be able to TP in. It's a good pick. Investing a TP into it won't hurt too much because Rogue will force the Baron when it spawns, but Kingen will be alive just in case they do decide to start it. DRX will get some vision in Rogue's jungle on the top side as they commit members on the bot side of the map, but we should see Rogue sweep that out very soon.
And this is where it becomes so important for DRX to actually get some vision. They're trying to establish some sort of vision control. They have a pink ward deep. They got the scuttle. They got that one additional ward, but Rogue is going to come in and start to clear all of this out. And as long as they can clear out that vision, again, the pink is already spotted. That's your only flanking ward that was really on the map. Now that's very difficult to actually find a good angle here.
Baron's up. Defensive items for Larson and Comp. Guardian Angel on Comp. Larson's gone for the Banshees. Wants to avoid getting that one proc. DRX don't have too many spells to do that, so he should have it for when they commit. DRX trying to get some vision in their own jungle. Rogue pushing them out. The sapling's doing work to give them vision with that Hextech Soul. It's just so annoying the second a sapling lands. You're just slowed for so much. They're actually barreling down mid.
Gale forces in. Zeka's at a half HP right there. Minions block the rest of the golem, but still diving forward as Comp feels so safe. With the Guardian Angel, full items. No one's going to stop him. Middle inhibitor goes down.
I actually love this from Rogue. They get full mid prio, just run it straight down. They push Zeka back into the base. Now they know there's no way that DRX is lying in wait here, so they can fully clear out any and all vision and make this lights out for DRX. There's no eyes on anything that Rogue is doing.
They can start Baron over the wall and have people zone like this. This is what the best setup is for Rogue, with Autoomne just being in the face of DRX, showing pressure and slowing them down, exactly the same as the Dragon. How does Yuhan get past this? He's trying to find an angle, but it's already gone.
Time. Ulti comes down for good measure. Kingen will just simply die. No one's even around him. They rest from leave, and it's his 5th death of the game. 15-9. The pile in for Autoomne. Sets them all up. Ulti. It's going to mean absolutely nothing. Comp finds the double. Burns the stopwatch. Resurrecting now as Zeka runs away, but no one is left to watch the fall of DRX, who will drop their first game of Worlds. Mad Lions couldn't do it. RNG couldn't do it, but bet your ass Rogue can. They will find their first win of the World Championship, their first time winning the LEC, and so far, 1-0 at Worlds. The Nexus falls and Rogue is on top.
The first team to take down DRX here at Worlds, undefeated through play-ins. Rogue played a beautiful game here, and DRX had no answers for the Bash Bros from Rogue in the front line there. Autoomne and Malrang going crazy in these late game fights. They could not get through the front line. They could not approach the objectives because